Okay, so the first of our lectures is going to be a recap on what we should have already studied and revised, which is new and emerging technologies. Companies are trying to save money, improve products, develop new materials, and become more efficient. New technologies are developed to positively impact the manufacturing industry and society. You have to know that technology continues to be developed for the manufacturing processes in order to improve quality and speed of making, whilst maintaining customer satisfaction. This has a big impact on industry. So when we're thinking about it, the Industrial Revolution, which was a process that transformed manufacturing from handmade to machine-made, mass-powered goods using water, steam and coal power transported by canals, railways, steamships, and actually Britain was the first country to have an Industrial Revolution. Automation has been developing since then. So machinery is being used to complete tasks previously done by humans. Automated machines are programmed to carry out a procedure multiple times, repeatedly creating the shape of a car door using a press, for example, to improve production time. The cost of setting up machinery is very high, but when they're operating, less waste is produced and running lower. You could think about this from a car perspective. Back in the day, when they first started making cars, they would have done everything by hand. Now it's pretty much fully automated. The picture that you see on the top right is an automated production line used for packaging. So what they're doing there is they are folding the card, they're sticking the card together, and then they'll be putting the products into the boxes themselves. And the bottom picture is of robots automating, working, to create a car totally without humans. The use of robots is just one part of automation. And the difference between robotics and automation is that the robots that we use have artificial intelligence. Now, artificial intelligence is the use of computer systems to perform tasks that usually require human intelligence. Now, AI robots collect information and improve the performance of robots have proven popular because of their ability to increase efficiency and handle harmful materials that humans can't. But the problem is they're very, very expensive. Now, an example of this is in 1986, Chernobyl, which is it was part of the Ukraine, had a nuclear disaster where basically the whole power plant exploded and killed hundreds of people and had a very big effect on the rest of that area and on us, to be fair. You might have seen there was a couple of documentaries and some shows on it recently. Now, what is incredible is that the nuclear waste was causing cancer. It's really, really potent stuff, and humans can't touch it. It would literally infect them, cause cancers, mutations, some really nasty stuff. But a robot doesn't have that sensitivity that we have and could easily go and clear it. So relatively recently, just a couple of years ago, a fully automated line happened where robots were able to clear a lot of that nuclear waste, which made Chernobyl a lot safer. So that's one example of how AI has been used. Now, there are also specialist buildings. Smart technology, which is technology that uses a chip to store information, has improved the efficiency of buildings, with many factories using renewable energy such as solar power, wind power, and other sources to try and minimize the environmental impact. So block-style buildings can be erected quickly and at a very low cost, and improvements in stock control mean less storage space is needed. Now we have to look at production techniques and systems here. So we're going to go into a bit more detail about production. Now, computer-aided design, which you guys will all know about a little bit, is designing new products in 3D, visualizing them in different types of materials, and sending images around the world for collaboration and consultation. Now, the great thing about computer-aided design is obviously you can do things very quickly and you're not going to be using lots of different resources and materials. It's technically a lot cheaper. There's lots and lots of different advantages and there's lots of disadvantages for computer-aided design, which I've put onto the screen for you. What's very, very positive about this is that we in schools are able to actually access lots of computer-aided design software. So 2D design, which I'm sure you are all aware of, is actually a computer-aided design program. Obviously, it's simplified, but something very, very similar, which is actually on the top right picture on the board, that is actually an example of an industry-based program that can design the Xbox remote. So CAD is a really, really good way that can draw they can be designed from all angles. So if you think about using SketchUp, you can physically rotate the object and see all the different elements of it. And consumer feedback can be done before any sort of expense reduction can take place. Now, obviously, there are disadvantages to everything. Computer-aided design is expensive to set up. Now, the graphic students here, you guys have worked on Photoshop and Illustrator and InDesign, that the Adobe package is extortionate. It's really, really expensive to set up. And to be able to do it, you need to be skilled and actually able to use it. So that's a real problem. It's also difficult to keep up with all the changing and improving technology. If you ask Mr. Webb or Mr. Prince what sort of computer-aided design was available to them when they were younger, the difference that you would see from them to even a few years ago is very vast because they're constantly developing the technology. Now, computer-aided manufacturer is also another area, and we do have examples of CAM machines in our school. So computer-aided manufacture is the manufacture of a part or a product from the computer-aided design, so what we've just talked about, to the machinery. And an example of this is a 3D printer or a laser cutter. So we have two of those. Now, the advantages of CAM is that it's very fast, my Hoover just fell down, and expensive to set up. The advantage is that it can run constantly repetitive tasks. They're not going to be exhausted. But the disadvantages is that, again, it's really pricey. The laser cutter we have in that room is pretty old and it's still worth about £3,000 or £4,000. Now, if you imagine we're just making one thing at a time and you know how unreliable they can be, if you have a whole crew of them, it's really expensive. Now, the other disadvantages, again, is you're going to need someone that knows how to do it. It's expensive. Skilled workforces are more expensive than unskilled workforces, so that's something that we have to put into consideration. Now, I wanted to talk to you about 3 different systems of production and how the different systems can be used. So the first one is the Flexible Manufacturing System, or FMS. Now, flexible manufacturing systems are a series of different machines producing different parts for a product. The system is flexible because at any time the machines in the process can be reprogrammed to change their task, and production can be changed to produce more or fewer parts without stopping the other areas of the process. So, for example, you could have one computer set up with lots of different machines that are all linked to that computer. And the computer could then choose which machine it wants to do and which it wants to use, and then easily change to another machine. So that's really, really useful. Okay, and it's used in industry a lot. Just-in-time manufacturing is triggered by a customer order. The correct amount of materials are ordered in to cover the order, and these arrive just as they're needed in production. This saves money on storage, reduces waste, and ensures there's no money wasted producing stock that will remain unsold. There are disadvantages to the system that if any part of the product cannot be sourced, clients have to wait in order for this to be produced. Now, just-in-time manufacturing is a really interesting system. It was actually sort of founded in World War II with Toyota, although it's argued that actually it was founded in Australia and then Toyota brought it over to Japan. But with limited resources and limited money, it was a really good way of actually manufacturing cars cheaply and effectively. And I was thinking of lots of different things that we could use as examples, and one that I thought would be really good is McDonald's. So McDonald's, they buy in lots of materials, they partially cook a few of them, but they don't make the burger or the meal that you have until you press that order button or until you ask someone for that particular meal. So that is another example of just-in-time manufacturing. Now, lean manufacturing is a Japanese concept based on minimizing costs and maximizing efficiency by cutting down on waste and the amount of materials and energy used in production. This is done by adapting designs and making changes to the production process. For example, to reduce waste, a packaging net could be redesigned to include tessellating patterns. To improve efficiency, changeover times between production runs could be reduced. Now, Nike have used lean manufacturing for a long time now, and what they do is ensure that their patterns tessellate when they're cutting their shoes out with a laser cutter. And it's a really, really good way of making sure that they have minimal waste reduced, which obviously will cost a lot of money. Now, lean manufacturing was created by Toyota at the very, very same time as just-in-time was happening. So they were making sure that they were minimizing costs and maximizing efficiency. And that's really important to consider when we're looking at the new and developing technologies. So they're going to have to think about using potentially one of these systems to try and help them. So obviously, when you're developing new products, it's important to think about the different ways that we can get money or you can get clients, because new ideas are constantly and continually emerging, but it's difficult to ensure these ideas are developed successfully. As a result, there are quite a few different ways that have been evolved to support the development of new products, and I'm just going to go on a couple of them. So the first one is crowdfunding. Traditionally, new businesses would borrow money from a bank to raise enough funds to develop a project. The problem is this is really risky, and with interest payments can be really expensive. Crowdfunding uses websites to advertise products as investment opportunities where people can choose to back a project with a financial donation if they think it's viable. Backers are often rewarded with free gifts, discounts, or a pre-agreed part of the profits if the product is successful. Now, Kickstarter is a website purely based on crowdfunding, and I've put the link on there for you guys to explore at another time, but it has proven really, really popular with many different people. Now, one that's slightly smaller but still works in the very same process is Facebook. Facebook use fundraising, which I'm sure if you guys have had a birthday in the last year or so, you would have seen that they have the, would you like to create a fundraiser? That is using crowdfunding because you are then promoting it with your friends, your crowd, and they can choose to back it if they think it's viable. So it's a good example of crowdfunding. Another example is virtual marketing and retail. So promotion of products online and sharing experiences, reviews, and recommendations has rapidly become part of the retail experience. I can tell you for a fact, I love to review on Google. I'm a bit of a pain in the butt when it comes to Amazon reviews as well. And I do rely on looking at reviews for products when I'm about to buy them. Now, algorithms can generate information about users, buyers, buying habits and suggest relevant retail sites for them to try using search engine optimization. Blogs and vlogs and social media all provide advertising platforms, and costs of retailing from a website are far lower than from a high street shop. So what's interesting about this is that we are, as a consumer, being listened to. We're being recorded, not physically, but people are recording and documenting what websites we click on, what things interest us, and then they're using search engine optimization to actually help tailor it. Who here, I'm sure, I can't see you, but I'm imagining, show of hands, would be able to say that they've been talking to a friend about something, they maybe Googled it once, and then suddenly they're seeing adverts on Facebook or Instagram popping up all about that particular thing. That is a way of virtual marketing, so tailoring it to the consumer. There's also cooperatives. Now, cooperatives are organisations with lots of people working together towards a common goal. The cooperative is run and owned by the members who share decision-making, profits and risk. Now, some examples of this are the Cooperative, John Lewis and Partners, Nationwide. And basically, it's all about you buying in, being part of the team, and then you'll get small amounts of the profit. Another example is fair trade. Fair trade is a trading partnership that ensures workers in developing countries are given a suitable working condition and are paid a fair wage. It's not legal, and it's not legal for companies to follow. Sorry, it's not a legal obligation for companies to follow, but it has become very popular over time as it represents a good belief that workers who produce products should be treated well. This has encouraged companies to fair trade and endorse some of their products to support their sales. Now, on the PowerPoint, I've left you a little video link for you guys to have a look at later, and that's basically just the Fair Trade Foundation discussing how fair trade works. But they really focus on avoiding child labour or forced labour, slavery, making sure that buyers and farmers get fair pricing for their products, and that everybody gets good working conditions, housing, and respect for the environment as well. So there's lots of different areas, but it's a really interesting concept and it's definitely worth having a look into. So greater consideration is now given to ensuring that the materials and energy we use are sustainable. This includes where the resources come from and how they are disposed of at the end of their life. Sustainable, A sustainable resource can be replaced once used. So an example is, as a tree is chopped down, many more can be planted to ensure the use of trees is sustained. Now, finite resources are non-renewable and will eventually run out. Some examples of those are metals, plastics, and fossil fuels such as coal, natural gas, and oil. These are all examples of finite resources. Finite resources are popular as they are easily accessible due to strong supply chains and often have benefits from manufacturing particular products or from more energy supplies. Companies have become very careful in their use of finite resources as they now have to consider the ecological footprint caused by using such materials. Now, the ecological footprint is an analytical measurement of the amount of global resources used. Now, obviously, if it's final, it means that it's going to eventually run out, which is why companies have to lean towards non-finite resources. So non-finite resources are found naturally and can be replaced. Examples are wood, cotton, and renewable energy such as solar and wind. Where trees are cut down or hibiscus plants are harvested for cotton, new ones can be planted in their place. So it's a positive, and it's all looking about renewable energy. Now, when it comes to getting rid of it, waste disposal, it's carefully monitored and managed by local councils. Households are encouraged to recycle waste items where possible, including products made from various materials such as hard plastics, paper, and steel. Natural garden waste can also be recycled. In 2016, the UK recycled 25% of household waste, and then there was only the target of 50% in 2020. All other waste goes to landfill sites. Landfill sites are places where refuse, rubbish, is buried underground. And the problem is that it releases harmful gases that pollute the surrounding area and air and soil. So modern companies are encouraged to be less wasteful now, and they have to be very considerate of how they affect the natural environment. Continuous improvement, the practice of continually making small adjustments to production techniques to improve the speed and quality and save resources. The process, known in industry by the Japanese name Kaizen, and it encourages people to work together and give regular feedback to make small improvements. This can increase productivity and create team harmony. It's important to know that companies work in an efficient manner. This includes increasing the speed of production, reducing errors, and reducing waste, which can be done by utilising automation or CAM, implementing quality control checks, ensure errors are quickly spotted, and provides the customer with reassurance. Now we get into the nasty stuff. Pollution is caused when harmful substances are released into the natural environment. Pollution can occur in air, water, or natural land. Legislation has been brought in to help with this issue. For example, in the UK, cosmetic products, stuff that goes on skin, can't contain plastic microbeads as they were polluting the environment, and the picture bottom right shows what can happen to the sea. And harmful products such as batteries are being disposed of correctly now, and companies are being encouraged by government incentives. Government incentives are benefits the government can give businesses when they change manufacturing to benefit the environment. It could be monetary, it could be a pat on the back in a much bigger way, but it's a way the government can try and encourage. So, global warming. Global warming is the rise in the average temperature at the Earth's surface. And for those of you that are a bit confused with global warming and greenhouse gases, that YouTube video is very basic, but is quite informative. So manufacturing processes in factories or the use of day-to-day products like cars can cause harmful chemicals such as carbon monoxide and nitrogen oxides to be released. These chemicals pollute the air and natural land. Worldwide environmental awareness had led to the limitations on the levels of pollution and emissions of greenhouse gases, as well as targets on renewable energy generation to try and stop global warming. The development of more efficient electronical products such as low-energy light bulbs and better building insulation has cut down on energy costs. Some countries offer incentives to increase the use of emission controls, electric vehicles and energy-saving devices such as better insulation and automatic shut-off devices. So Overall, the whole point is we're supposed to be trying to make this Earth somewhere that's going to live for a little bit longer, because the way that we're going, we're causing much pollution on the environment that we're going to have some serious problems later on down the lines. So it's really worth considering this when we're developing new and modern technologies. What's important as well is that it has a massive impact on us as the humans, as the people that live and use these products. People influence how technology is developed in order to suit their own wants and needs. However, technological developments can change people's lifestyle behaviours. Technology push. Research and development in science and industry can lead to new discoveries, which can be used to improve existing products or develop new ones. This is technology push, and it happens before there is a demand for the product. Research and development is valuable for companies who are the first to introduce a new, innovative product. An example of technology push was the phone, all through to the smartphone. Existing touchscreen technology was used to improve the mobile phone market. Market pull is where product ideas are produced in response to market forces or customer needs. Examples is the development of the mobile phone, or the development of the camera, which has become smaller, more lightweight, and higher performing as a result of customer needs. The rapid changes in technology and automation in recent years have meant a decline in need for traditional skills. Rather than facing unemployment, workers have had to be retrained or upskilled to match the new technology. Examples of this include robotics, where an engineer needs to understand how a robot is programmed and can be controlled to perform a task such as welding, rather than perform the manual skill or the welding themselves. Now, we have to look at the impact of the culture. So in a consumer-driven society, the desire to own the latest product, such as a smartphone or the newest trainers, becomes part of our culture. Without realising it, the general public are immersed in media that subconsciously influences our taste and style. Fashion trends continue to be influenced by changing technology. Wearable items such as high-tech watches can embrace new technology, whilst textile technology utilises electrically conductive material or 3D printing technology. Embracing this new technology allows products to remain popular with a modern market whilst looking new and innovative. Trend forecasts are able to predict the future patterns and colours 2 years before products come out on the market, and manufacturers can buy this information, which will influence their designs and enable them to keep ahead of their market competitors. Many countries now have a diverse range of cultures, so it's become very important for designers to consider a range of cultural beliefs whilst designing for a mass market. For instance, clothes designers might incorporate designs into their collections that allow customers from other cultures to dress more modestly, or cosmetics manufacturers may choose not to use animal ingredients in their products because of people's beliefs, for example. Some groups of people have specific needs that need to be met. Not all products are designed for mass market. This can be achieved through either inclusive design or through specific products. Products aimed at users with physical disabilities will ensure that they can use the product with ease. User needs are met by understanding the nature of the physical disability, for example, visual impairments, mobility restrictions, or motor control. The range of every product that help increase the independence just continues to grow. There's now a braille keyboard for people that can't physically see. So instead of touching a keyboard and not knowing which letters you're pressing, you're physically pressing braille, which is incredible. When designing products aimed at elderly users, it's important to understand the difficulties this user group might experience, such as mobility issues, visual impairments, hearing loss. For example, a product aimed at this group is a long shoehorn, which is a long piece of plastic which has it's slightly wide at the end, and it helps an elderly person shoe without having to bend down, which could cause further issues, especially with mobility. Religious groups have a variety of preferences that can be addressed through design. The use of certain symbols, diet restrictions, and clothing requirements all need to be considered so beliefs are upheld. Developments in mass production techniques have led to a variety of different things that design needs to consider. It is important for designers to consider a wide range of perspectives when designing a product and to consider the many scenarios that affect that product's life. One of these things is planned obsolescence. Planned obsolescence is the practice of designing products that will have a limited life and that will eventually become obsolete and require to be displaced, such as disposable razors. Another example is modern mobile phones, as they need continual software upgrades and need to be replaced by better performing models. Planned obsolescence is bad for the environment as it creates more waste. I've just included a small article which actually shows Apple admitting that they actually use planned obsolescence in their phones, because what it is deliberately slowed iPhones down, so you had to buy a new iPhone. Design for maintenance is a term when designing products that are more durable and have spare parts available to maintain them. This is only possible with low-tech or modular products that require a great deal of skill to repair. For example, a traditional bike can be regularly maintained, with parts such as pedals and chains being replaced when they're damaged. Design assembly is a concept when a product has reached the end of its life. It could be taken apart and reused or recycled. For instance, a stool or a chair could be unscrewed and the plastic seat or steel legs could be recycled. Environmental design is something designers are increasingly considering by making things out of renewable materials. So a horrendous change from plastic straw to paper straw, it creates less waste material and it can easily be recycled. Transport materials in more efficient cut down emissions of greenhouse gases, cutting down the use of fine resources for use in production and for energy supply by improving the overall environmental impact of a product. So overall, you can see there are lots and lots of different ways that we are trying to develop technology and different perspectives that we can consider as designers. At the end of today's lecture, I am going to be placing the exam question on homework, and it's now up to tutors to answer any questions or go back over any areas. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much.